there are more and more people who are speaking out that something is coming, something is wrong. As a matter of fact, Joel Rosenberg, and Joel's been at my conferences twice, back in '07 and 2011, and he wrote an article in the last 2 weeks anyway, and it was titled "Something is Coming," and I posted that to my website. We posted it to our Facebook. It went completely berserk off the chart because I think readers resonated with the fact that they know that something, we don't know what that something is. We don't know if it's the implosion you're talking about. He wrote a book titled Implosion, and he cited, just as you cite, the violence exploding in our cities, the abortions that are occurring, more than 1 million a year, marriages and families imploding, and then he's cited some of the foreign issues from Iran, who's closing in on the bomb, etc. So, many righteous people, Dr. Robert Jeffress, know that something is wrong. There's a breakdown in society. They simply don't know what to do about it, other than, as you've already suggested, to continue to be salt and light as much as possible and delay the decay. I think they'd like to do more than that. Do you have anything that you counsel your church people?
Well, it's funny. I'm preaching this Sunday from Romans 13,
yes,
when Paul talks about how the day is drawing near and, arise, sleeper, awake. And Paul, I'm using Paul's passage there about our salvation is nearer today than it's ever been, to call Christians to do 3 things. He says, in light of the fact that the night is about to end and the day of Christ appearing is dawning, it's time to wake up, it's time to get dressed, and it's time to go to work. That's what he's talking about. It's time to awaken, to realize the time that we're living in. Secondly, it's time to get dressed, so to speak, put off the clothes of the nighttime, immoral behavior, and put on the behavior that's befitting to Christ. And thirdly, it's time to go to work. Work while it is day, because the night is coming when no man can work. We've got to take advantage of this opportunity, Jan. People are wondering what's happening in the world. This is a great time for us to explain what is happening in the world through the lens of Bible prophecy and what the Scripture says.
I want to play a very short soundbite, and if we have to comment on it on the other side of a break, we can, though we'll have a minute or two here. But this is Dr. James Dobson, because I'm not quite leaving the Supreme Court decision of late June quite yet. And Dr. Dobson weighs in here suggesting what the overall implications of that verdict back in late June would be. And then I want your response, Dr. Jeffress.
I found myself grieving over the implications for our country and for Western civilization. This decision will quickly touch every dimension of American life, and the family will be forever changed. I grieve most for what it will do to our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. They will be taught that right is wrong and that wrong is right, and that the teachings of Scripture are unreliable and inaccurate. How outrageous it is to me that boys and girls barely out of babyhood are already being introduced in some schools and some states to perverse adult behavior. Soon, public school textbooks throughout the country will be rewritten and re-illustrated to conform to this ruling. It matters not that these revisions will contradict the beliefs and the convictions of their parents. It's already become the law of the land. Many adopted kids will grow up in homes with same-sex parents, lacking either masculine or feminine role models. They're among the saddest victims of this ruling. Adults will suffer too. Every indication is that a barrage of court cases has been planned and will quickly be filed against those who hold to politically incorrect views of marriage. Many of us will be dragged into court to be prosecuted or subjected to civil judgments. Some will lose their jobs. Some will lose their professional licenses. Some will be persecuted and ridiculed and fined. Some may go to prison as the years unfold. Since same-sex marriage has now been determined to be a universal human right by the highest court in the land, it will trump religious liberty and affect churches, seminaries, ministries, Christian schools, businesses, hospitals, charities, and many other institutions. The tax-exempt status of each of these entities is at serious risk. Above all else, I fear that God's judgment will befall this once great nation.
I'm sure you agree with that, Dr. Jeffers.
Well, I do. I talked to Dr. Dobbs about an hour after the Supreme Court decision on that Friday. We visited and we talked about many of these things. He's absolutely correct. And maybe after the break we can talk about two specific implications I think every Christian listening needs to understand. First of all, the effect on children, and secondly, what this is going to do to religious organizations and our free exercise of religion individually. There is no way to overestimate the impact this decision is going to have on religious liberty, and we're already starting to feel the effects of it.